I used to tell myself this was one of those stories you just keep to yourself, you know? The kind you think about late at night when everything's quiet, but you never actually say out loud. Not because you're hiding it, but because saying it makes it real all over again. And honestly, even now, when I think back on it, I can still feel that knot in my chest. That weird mix of hurt, anger, and this strange sense of clarity that only came after everything fell apart, because what happened to me and my sister. This wasn't just about who we loved. It was about who was allowed to decide our lives, and the moment we stopped asking for permission, everything shifted. My name's Emily Carter. I grew up just outside Atlanta, in one of those neighborhoods that looks like it belongs in a magazine. Perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, neighbors who smile a little too easily. Everything looked curated. And our family? We fit right in, at least on the outside. I have a twin sister, Sarah, and I know people always say twins are close, but with us, it went deeper than that. It wasn't just shared birthdays or similar faces, it was this unspoken understanding. Like, I could look at her across a crowded room and know exactly what she was thinking, and she'd know when I was upset before I even realized it myself. We used to joke that we were each other's built-in lie detectors. We shared everything growing up. Clothes, sure, but also secrets, fears, dreams we didn't even tell anyone else. Even the hard stuff. Especially the hard stuff. And maybe that's why, when everything started falling apart later, we didn't drift. We locked in even tighter. Our parents, they weren't the kind people would point at and say, "Oh yeah, something's wrong there." No yelling, no obvious chaos, just control. My dad, Richard Carter, ran a logistics company, very successful, very respected. He believed in systems, order, efficiency, and people. Well, people were part of those systems too. My mom, she kept everything smooth on the surface, always smiling, clubs always hosting something, book clubs, dinners, charity events. She knew how to make things look warm, even when they weren't. In our house, there were rules. They weren't written down, but you felt them everywhere. Don't challenge your father. Don't make the family look bad, and don't, under any circumstances, choose a life that doesn't fit the one already planned for you. It took me years to realize this, but love in our house always came with expectations attached. College was the first crack in that world. Sarah and I both went to the University of Georgia. Close enough to keep our parents comfortable, but just far enough to breathe a little. And that breathing room? It changed things. We started noticing stuff we hadn't questioned before, why we always asked for permission, why we felt guilty for wanting basic independence, little things at first. But they added up, and then we met Michael and Jake. Michael worked at the campus library. Quiet, thoughtful. The kind of person who actually pauses before he speaks. He'd remember little things you said weeks ago, like your favorite author, or how you take your coffee. Jake, on the other hand, total opposite energy. Loud, always cracking jokes. The kind of guy who could walk into a room and make it feel lighter instantly. But underneath that, he was solid. The kind of person who shows up when it matters. They weren't polished, they didn't come from money, and honestly, that was kind of the point. They felt real in a way we weren't used to. With them, we weren't the Carter twins. We were just us, no expectations. No roles to play, just Emily and Sarah. We kept it quiet at first. Not because we were ashamed, but because we knew exactly how it would go if our parents found out. So, we took it slow. Hung out. Studied together. Let things grow naturally, but you can only keep something meaningful hidden for so long. Eventually, it caught up to us. It was Thanksgiving, and I remember it so clearly. The smell of turkey, cinnamon candles burning, everything looking picture perfect, which, in our house, usually meant something was about to crack. Michael and Jake had driven us home that week. Nothing dramatic. Just a ride, but my dad saw them, and the way his expression changed, Abe still can't fully explain it. It wasn't just disapproval, it was like he was already calculating how to fix the problem. That night, after dinner, he called us into his office, and I remember thinking, this is it. He didn't ease into it, no conversation, no questions. You're not seeing them anymore. That was it, just a decision, already made. I felt my chest tighten. My heart was racing, but I forced myself to stay still, and for the first time in my life, I didn't agree, I didn't argue either, I just said quietly, No, it surprised even me, but once it was out there, I couldn't take it back. I'm not ending something that matters to me just because you said so. Sarah didn't hesitate. She stepped closer to me and said, "Me neither." And in that moment, something shifted, not loudly, but permanently. My dad didn't yell. Honestly, I think I would preferred that. Instead, he smiled. And it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind that says, "You have no idea what's coming." Within weeks, everything changed. Our accounts were locked. Credit cards stopped working. Even the car we used, gone. Just like that. No warning, no conversation. We were still in school, still trying to figure out our lives. And suddenly, we had nothing to fall back on. It hit hard. I remember sitting on the floor of our dorm room, staring at my phone, refreshing my bank app like it was going to magically fix itself. It didn't. That's when it really sank in. We weren't being taught a lesson. We were being cut off. But here's what he got wrong. He thought we'd panic, come crawling back. Instead, we adapted. Michael and Jake didn't swoop in like heroes. That's not who they were. They just stayed, helped us think clearly when everything felt overwhelming. We found part-time jobs, picked up extra hours, moved into this tiny apartment off campus that had paper-thin walls and a heater that barely worked. We ate cheap noodles, shared groceries, laughed over the dumbest things just to stay sane. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried quietly so Sarah wouldn't hear me. But for the first time, we were making our own choices. And that felt worth it. I wish I could say that was the end. That we walked away and everything settled, but control doesn't just let go like that. About 6 months later, my dad reached out, and I knew right away. It wasn't about reconciliation, it was about strategy. He asked us to come home. Said he wanted to work things out. Part of me knew better, but another part, I guess it still hoped, so we went. And walking back into that house, it felt different, like we were visitors instead of daughters. We sat in his office again, same chairs, same setup, and then he laid it out. If you want to be part of this family again, there are terms. Of course there were, there always were. He handed us contracts. Actual legal documents. Outlining everything. Our involvement in the business, financial control. Even personal decisions. Including who we could marry. I remember my hands shaking as I flipped through the pages. And suddenly, everything became very clear. This wasn't about protecting us. It wasn't even about family. It was about control, ownership. He didn't see us as daughters anymore. He saw us as investments he needed to manage. And then he said something that just settled it for me. You can keep those boys around. If they understand their place. That sentence? It hit deeper than anything else, because I knew exactly what he meant. And I knew I'd never accept it. I looked at Sarah. She looked at me. No words needed. We both knew. This wasn't something you negotiate. This was something you walk away from. For good. We didn't argue, didn't raise our voices. We just stood up, slid the papers back toward him. And said, no. And this time, it wasn't quiet uncertainty. It was final. But walking away didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Because now, it wasn't just about freedom. It was about building something that was actually ours. Over the next year, we worked harder than I ever thought possible. We took everything we'd learned growing up around business. Every conversation we overheard, every system we understood. And we used it. Started small, consulting, logistics planning, fixing inefficiencies for small companies. Michael and Jake brought in their own strengths, different perspectives, different experiences, and slowly, it started working. Not overnight, but steadily. Meanwhile, my dad's company started slipping, nothing dramatic at first, just small cracks, but we saw it, because we understood how those systems worked. And when opportunities came, we took them. Eventually, we weren't just surviving, we were competing. 2 years later, we got an email from him, short, formal. He wanted a meeting, and this time, he came to us. When he walked in, something felt different. He wasn't as certain, and for the first time in my life, AB didn't feel small in his presence. He didn't really apologize. But he offered a partnership, his way of trying to regain footing. This time though, we had the leverage. We didn't rush. We didn't fold. We set clear terms. No control. No personal interference equal ground. And after a long pause, he agreed. Because he had to that moment. It wasn't revenge, it wasn't even victory, it was balance, finally. And Michael and Jake, we didn't keep them. That was never the point. We chose them. Every day. And yes, we married them, not to prove anything, but because they stood beside us when everything else fell away. Looking back now, this story isn't really about rebellion, or even about winning. It's about something simpler. Learning that your life belongs to you, even if claiming it costs you everything you thought you had. Because sometimes, the people who try to control you the most are the ones who accidentally teach you how strong you really are, and once you learn that, you don't unlearn it. So I'll leave you with this. If you were in my place, would you have stayed, or would you have walked away? This is a dramatized fictional story inspired by real-life themes, created for entertainment purposes only. Characters, events, and details have been reimagined and adapted.